It is 1:30, Universal Time. I'm Jim Tedder in Washington. United Nations Secretary-General Kofi Annan has announced a measure designed to make sure aid is given directly to the Palestinian people. Details of the measure have not been given, but an EU official says the Palestinian people would get the help they need without going through the Hamas-led Palestinian government. The announcement followed talks in New York among the United States, Russia, the European Union, and the United Nations. They met to discuss ways to restart Middle East peace efforts. Earlier Tuesday, the United States said it will give $10 million in medical aid to medical centers in the Palestinian territories. Officials say the aid will be provided through the United Nations Children's Fund and approved non-governmental organizations. Diplomats at the United Nations say Britain, France, and Germany will offer Iran compromises for giving up its nuclear program. However, the officials say they will consider placing restrictions against Iran if it fails to do so. The diplomats said Tuesday the 3 European nations will have a plan ready by next week. American Secretary of State Condoleezza Rice and ministers from the other Permanent Security Council members and Germany met in New York Tuesday. They discussed a resolution for possible restrictions against Iran. China and Russia, however, said they will veto any such restrictions. The president of Iran has arrived in Jakarta, Indonesia. Reports say Mahmoud Ahmadinejad made no comments to news reporters as he left the airport. The Iranian leader is expected to discuss his nation's nuclear program with Indonesian officials. He will then travel to Bali for a meeting of the leaders of 8 mainly Muslim countries. Indonesia has the largest Muslim population in the world and strong ties with the West. It has offered to help negotiate a resolution to the dispute over Iran's nuclear program. A bomb attack in the Iraqi city of Tal Afar has killed 17 people. 35 others were wounded in the attack. Also in Iraq, the bodies of at least 12 people were discovered, and at least 5 other people were killed. In Baghdad, Iraq's newly named prime minister said he hopes to complete the formation of a national unity government very soon. Nouri al-Maliki said the top cabinet positions have already been filled. He did not name his ministerial choices, but he said he expects to seek parliamentary approval for his cabinet later this week. The United Nations General Assembly has elected 47 nations to serve on the World Group's new Human Rights Council. The Assembly completed a final series of voting Tuesday. Cuba, China, and Russia were among the countries elected to the Council. The United States did not compete for a seat on the new Council. The Bush administration says governments that violate human rights should be barred from Council membership. A humanitarian group says about 2 million babies born every year in developing countries die during the first 24 hours of life. Save the Children said most of the newborns die from preventable causes like infections and low birth weight. The group said many lives could be saved if clean medical tools were used during childbirth. It also urges education for mothers about how to care for their babies. The group compared the condition of mothers and babies in 125 nations. Among the 33 industrial countries studied, the United States was next to last. American Secretary of State Condoleezza Rice has urged the United Nations Security Council to act quickly to stop the humanitarian crisis in the Darfur area of Sudan. Ms. Rice said the Darfur Agreement signed last Friday in Nigeria is a chance for peace. Diplomats have begun work on a resolution proposed by the United States that would extend United Nations control over the African Union force in Darfur. Also Tuesday, UN official Jon Egeland said attacks against women and children are continuing in the Darfur area of Sudan. Mr. Egeland spoke to reporters in Khartoum after a visit to Darfur. He was forced to flee one camp on Monday when demonstrators seeking protection by UN peacekeeping troops turned violent. One African Union worker was later killed. In Somalia, Islamic fighters battling for control of the capital Mogadishu have called a truce. Clashes in the Somali capital have killed at least 60 people since Sunday. The fighting involves an alliance of private armies and fighters loyal to Islamic leaders. The chairman of the Mogadishu Islamic courts says the Islamic fighters decided to call a truce in reaction to calls by the public. However, it is not known if the alliance will accept the ceasefire offer. The Islamic fighters say the United States is supporting the alliance. The private armies accuse the fighters of having ties to Al-Qaeda. Somalia has been without a central government since 1991. A temporary government was formed last year. However, many local leaders oppose it. In Nepal, the new cabinet has cancelled several orders given by King Gyanendra. The king gave the orders after he seized complete power in February of last year. The Nepalese finance minister says the orders include restrictions on press freedom and controls on non-governmental organizations. Nepalese officials say the new cabinet will name a team later this week to begin talks with Nepalese rebels. Officials hope that the talks will help the temporary government build on a recently declared ceasefire with rebels. Briefly, here again is the major news. UN Secretary-General Kofi Annan has announced a measure designed to make sure aid is given directly to the Palestinian people. Diplomats at the UN say Britain, France, and Germany will offer Iran compromises for giving up its nuclear program. And a bomb attack in the Iraqi city of Tal Afar has killed 17 people. That's the news in VOA Special English. Jim Tedder reporting.